Man, you know, I said I didn't want to do any political shit on this channel, but this is too damn important, and the fuck if I want this covered by nothing but the clickbait brigade. So, let me tell you a story. There's this game called Sense, a Cyberpunk Ghost Story. Came out on Steam 5 months ago, and now it's coming to Nintendo Switch next week. When suddenly, the publisher, Top Hat Studios, gets a flood of angry comments because the game has a busty anime girl for a main character, with many demanding they change it. Y'all do realize that means redrawing like half the art elements of the game, right? A cyberpunk game where everyone is walking around with synthetically augmented bodies anyway, right? So, Top Hat Games put out an official statement saying that they have been receiving hate and death threats with people threatening legal action because a character in a game they are publishing has too big of boobs. They said, no, we will not censor the game, we categorically refuse. Well, this led to many people calling this a marketing stunt. Who would send death threats because a fictional character's tits are too big, right? Right? Super dumb, right? Obviously fake. So, Top Hat Studios collected the comments and threats, covered up the names, and posted them. They said they didn't want to because they didn't want retaliation, as you could easily just search the text of these comments and harass the people who made them. However, there are people in the industry calling them liars, so they had to, and, well, yeah, no, that's some real hate right there. So, why not reveal the names? Why not strike back? If they get to hate mob Top Hat Studios, why can't we hate mob them back? Because the golden rule is do unto others as you want done unto you, not an eye for an eye, because in case you forgot, that makes the whole world go blind. But it's also because the golden rule has completely broken down. Looking into some of these comments, a couple actually come from professional journalists, so obviously they're not going to report on their own hatred. Journalists have each other's backs these days. That's not a conspiracy, that's a clique, and it's been that thing for decades. I remember trying to get a job in game journalism back in 2005, and nearly everyone admitted that they only had their job because they knew a guy. A lot of these journalists live in the same area and are actual friends with each other. This is a huge problem, and it doesn't seem like it to those on the inside because, I mean, they're just being good friends. They're just helping each other out. That's a moral good. We all want to help a brother out. But what happens when all of journalism is buddy-buddy with each other? What happens when they all share the same politics? What happens when they view those with opposing politics as literal evil? Well, you get a very one-sided, politically slanted journalism that allows one side to get away with whatever they want while the other is put under a microscope for any minor infractions. It's not a conspiracy, it's a clique. Without an outside view, those pulling this crap just see themselves as helping out a friend or two. Thus, while these people can harass Top Hat Studios as much as they want, any action taken against them will be blown out of proportion, and they'll report on how gamers are evil because they got death threats just for criticizing sexist game design. They'll say that this proves that sexist character designs turn men into monsters and thus justifies the censorship. And people trying to stay neutral will agree with them because they don't want to pick a side, and sending death threats because you like big boobs is super pathetic. I mean, they were just criticizing, right? What happened to free speech, right? Seems like the gamers are the ones who are against free speech. This, by the way, is what has torn America apart. This right here, this shit. One side gets to spew hatred and harassment all they want, and the other isn't even allowed to complain. And then you get the people supporting and applauding censorship because it shows they're morally superior due to not being loser virgin incels. Why, you can delete all the boobs from video games, it's totally fine. Not like they play as female characters anyway, because that's gross and weird. So, what the fuck do we do? Is there really no way to fight back? No. There is a way. Repost and do not engage. Do not talk to these people, do not threaten them, do not harass them. What's even the point? What will you accomplish? They only accomplish something because these scare people position in power, because some of these idiots are actual journalists who could use their position to slander companies. You don't have that power. So just repost. Save that image and never let anyone forget it. Expose the lies, expose the hatred. No, this will not gain mainstream traction, but beneath the surface is a bunch of people who notice, and that has to count for something. It has to have some kind of an effect. This, by the way, is why people still bring up the Dragon Maid in prison school dubs. Saw some videos trying to excuse it and write it off as just punching up the dialogue gone wrong. No! Changing a character's entire personality just to shoehorn in political commentary that was not present in the original script is egregious and should never be tolerated, and that point will not come across unless we continue to bring it up. I don't care if it was just a few lines, you're changing art to suit your political agenda. Although, to be fair, I know people who still hold a grudge against Atlas for what they did to Persona 1. Yes, Persona 1 on PS1 is quite possibly the worst localization job in the history of the medium. Guess what? Atlas got better. Much better. They learned their lesson and even made a point of explaining on the PSP remake of Persona 1 is unaltered from the original Japanese. I think they've made amends. But, yeah, Persona 1 on PS1 is kinda so bad it's historic. And I'm not saying to forget about it, but forgiveness is due. Same with Prison School. They made amends on that one, but not Dragon Maid. So now that that's out of the way, let's take a closer look at some of these threats. Wow, a lot of hate speech going on here. That's interesting. Also, a lot of people blaming Nintendo. Y'all do realize Nintendo has nothing to do with the content of this game, and a pathetic amount of people who think this game is aimed at children. It's rated M, bro. We've got folks trying to call the makers of this game pedophiles? Because the breasts are too big? What? That's not how... What do words even mean anymore? Ah, good, we got folks calling the devs Nazis, because that's how you tell who is a Nazi. Their love of huge anime titties, of course. Right-wing So, anime boobs are right-wing now. How is this giving right-wingers a platform? I thought the right was supposed to hate gays, and the homosexuals aren't a fan of giant tits. Is liking anime boobs gay now? Am I gay? I think I might be hella gay. And indeed, some of these threats are legit disturbing. And then we have these ones, which somehow insist that this is violence against women? Oh, I'm sorry, women and children somehow. So a bike lock to the head isn't violence against women, but big anime titties are. Is English even a functional language anymore? But the one that gets me is right here. Just saw an article on your fetish porn game coming out next week. I don't want to talk to you, but I'm just saying, you know this is why you'll always be outsiders in the industry, right? Like, I get it. You're a bunch of macho wannabe chuds who think they can change the industry. Newsflash, the rest of us ain't letting you in. Oh? Is that some gatekeeping I see? Why, I thought gatekeeping was bad, but now that you've weaseled your way into the industry, you want to keep the OGs out? You want to completely change video games in your image? Fuck you. What's really sad is one of the comments on Twitter from a guy saying, "Good job, you have more balls than we do," explaining that he can't tell who we is, which is why I'm not showing the exact post, but apparently that guy works at some game studio that did bend the knee to social media outrage, and he's not happy about it. In another post, he says that this is actually a big problem within the video game industry right now. Lots of pressure to not show sexy women in video games. Speaking of hate speech and hypocrisy, you know, a few people responding to this Twitter thread pointed out that they are women who aren't bothered by the designs, and some of them are even quite large-breasted themselves, so comments like this are real winners. Hey folks, I know you're probably steeped in toxic masculinity, but could y'all lobotomize yourselves so you don't keep teaching women to hate themselves? Thanks. Ah yes, so the game, which features a capable protagonist solving a supernatural mystery, is teaching women to hate themselves because she has large breasts. Not though people demanding she get a breast reduction because large-breasted women are only good for porn. What happened to body positivity again? Oh right. Of course, just as I got done recording this, I found out there was a demo of the game on Steam and decided to play that in the background because I pre-ordered the Switch version, which isn't out yet. I like to slam face first into things that are a bit too on the nose. I mean, look at this. They're literally describing the exact response they got right here. That's not all, of course, as the game features numerous things some folks might call dog whistles, like this Free Hong Kong poster, or police being portrayed as good guys, or suggesting that Christianity would become outlawed, mocking the phrase listen and believe, or this guy complaining about not being able to touch the waifus. Make no mistake, I support their right to say these things, but it is enough to make you suspicious that this might be a publicity stunt. So I had to stop and double check, and sure enough, these tweets are in fact real. And from a weirdly large number of TERFs. Even this one, which doesn't even talk about trans folk at all. Oh, fucking great. I got both trans folk and anti-trans folk attacking sexy anime girls now. And yes, I'm serious about that. Long story, just didn't want anyone thinking it was just TERFs. Things have actually escalated to the point where both left and right-wing people will attack anime boobs in a convoluted proxy war against a million other completely unrelated things. Either way, we can safely confirm that these are in fact real messages and not a publicity stunt. Just, the devs knew this was gonna happen and might have been fishing for it. But I'd like to loop back around to something. This game came out on Steam 5 months ago, and there wasn't even a peep. Now it's coming to Switch, and the demands are flooding in. Why? Well, as you can see, some of it is because people think Nintendo consoles are kids only and do not understand how built-in parental controls work, but a part of it is maybe that Nintendo is the one company that hasn't bent the knee entirely to this outrage. Many people have already heard about Sony's censorship policies, which apply globally, by the way, and have caused some Japanese developers to abandon the platform, and yes, has caused some games released only in Japan to be censored. I know most folks don't actually know what the deal is and think it's an overblown meme, but no, it's real and Senran Kagura is dead because of it, among many, many other things. Sony even admitted to it after some Japanese indie devs broke NDA and spilled the beans. Sony is now an American company, they don't speak Japanese, and all game proposals globally must be submitted in English during American business hours, and they will demand changes to game content to avoid upsetting #MeToo. Not even a joke, they said it themselves. Microsoft, meanwhile, just caused the Galgun re-release to get cancelled on Xbox One. NDAs will forever hide the specifics, but Galgun serves a utilitarian function in the game industry. It is the windsock of censorship. No series has been on the run quite like Galgun. The original was a 360 exclusive, but Microsoft changed their policies after the release of the Kinect and forced the devs to release the Panties Protect patch to censor the game post-release. Sony saw an opportunity and relaxed their policies, and immediately all the lewd 360 exclusives got enhanced PS3 versions. Galgun Double Peace, released just fine on PS4, was the first US release in the series, and then Galgun 2 was forced to remove VR, despite the entire game being built around it, and got a PS4, Steam, and Switch release, with the Steam version getting VR added back in as DLC. Sony implemented this no touching girls in VR policy, if you're wondering. Did a video on that a long while back. Now the Galgun 1 re-release was gonna be Xbox One, Switch, and Steam, and completely ignore PS4, but Microsoft has dropped out. Now it's just Switch and Steam. It is well known that Nintendo told their shareholders recently they will not force censorship on third-party games. But just last console, Nintendo was responsible for some of the most egregious censorship in years, with Fire Emblem Fates and Tokyo Mirage Sessions, where character personalities were drastically altered, and an entire chapter was rewritten with the Japanese dialogue re-recorded to match the US script because it was about bikini modeling. Right now, Nintendo is the top pick for unaltered games, but so is Microsoft from 2001 to 2010, and so is Sony from 2010 to 2016. That's why this quote worries me. I don't think Nintendo are going to be happy to learn incel fantasies are being thrown out on their platform. Everyone in my network is letting them know. You're going to feel really stupid when they pull the rug out from under you. So, you just admitted you're mass reporting this to Nintendo because of big anime boobs. This could become a trial by fire for Nintendo if this gains enough traction. Fingers crossed Nintendo does the right thing and reminds people that there are parental controls in the console for a reason. As a bit of a side note, Nintendo continuing to allow M-rated games with somewhat extreme content on Switch is actually a bit important. See, with the Vita, people found out that a small, personal, portable screen is one of the most private ways to enjoy a game, making it ideal for lewd content. Even beyond that, I know at least one dad who was very happy he could play the hyper-violent new Doom on his Switch because it meant he didn't have to try and hide it from his very young kid. It's certainly an unexpected but appreciated bonus feature of the system. But why is it always anime boobs? Why do we never see this degree of outrage for any other type of censorship? Well, anime boob censoring is the most common, mostly because normies won't defend it. You look like a loser when you complain about the removal of anime boobs and get to act morally superior because you don't need anime boobs to enjoy a game. So it's really easy to get away with. Pretty sure 90% of game alterations are covering up and or reducing anime titties. But it's also super obvious. Removing anime boobs means redesigning characters, and people get attached to those characters. I mean, they're gonna be playing as them for the whole game. Kinda hard not to notice. And yes, some people buy these games because they want to be the big booby anime girl. So yes, you are removing the thing that interests them in the game in the first place. But we do have instances like Devotion, which was pulled from stores because of a hidden message that says Xi Jinping Winnie the Pooh in Chinese. Many people have pointed out that this is real censorship, unlike removing anime titties apparently, and people don't get mad enough. Why? Well, first of all, it's a hidden message that most of us can't even read, and we don't have a lot of attachment to, unlike busty main characters. That shit is front and center. This is a hidden Easter egg, so attachment to it really isn't there. Not a lot of people buying this to see a hidden Chinese message. It would be like boycotting Nintendo for removing the ability to microwave the hamster in later releases of Maniac Mansion. Even still, this is a game which we cannot play at all because it has been removed from stores, and people are trying to fix that. But how do you fix that? We've got people posting pirated copies of the game and giving donations to the company, and there are people who do have online stores and are trying to get the game published. If you're an average Joe gamer though, what do? You complain endlessly about fuck China and step up your Winnie the Pooh meme game, but your opponent is the Chinese government. How do you fight back against that? This is an underground problem with an underground solution and involves dealing with a foreign government. Of course, when looking for images for this segment, I came to a more frustrating realization about Devotion. No one actually cares about the game itself, and instead, everyone just uses it as a tool to call the other side a bunch of hypocrites. Like using it to say, see, this is why we need politics in video games, or to say, see, these people only care about anime tits and not real censorship, rather than actually coming up with any ideas or plans to help out Devotion and get it re-released in an uncensored state. Nah, no one actually wants Devotion, they just want to claim moral superiority. Then again, the problem here isn't even the censorship, but rather China's soft power they can exert on seemingly the entire world. Xi Jinping isn't really that mad about Winnie the Pooh, he just wants to show off how he has the power to make dumb demands and get away with it. There's nothing anyone can do about it. As such, the problem with Devotion isn't Devotion at all, but something much bigger that goes so far beyond video games that it is well outside my scope, scale, and understanding. Makes it hard to actually discuss, really. Unlike anime titties, which I can talk all day about. Either way, the truth is the Devotion issue is only paraded around as a form of self-righteous whataboutism rather than as a real problem to really solve, though I do admit finding a good solution is difficult. Anime titties, that's an upfront problem and the source is local. It's much more prominent and easier to attack. Not to mention, no one acts morally superior for defending Chinese censorship. I mean, I legit have seen people defend removing anime titties from games, and even people who like those kinds of designs backing down because, well, if it doesn't affect the gameplay. Needless to say, this further enrages the fans of anime titties and make them scream louder with more impotent fury. Sometimes to embarrassing degrees, but I mean, these are my people, I understand. Let's not even talk about all the buck passing going on. It's not censorship, it's localization. Oh, it's not Sony, you dumb gamers, it's Zero. Oh, it's not pressure from feminists, it's Tencent. Fuck the lot of them. Fuck Sony, fuck Zero, fuck the Chinese government, and fuck self-righteous buck-passing journalists. Fuck all of you. But wait, did I just imply that the censorship of Devotion is less bad than the censorship of Senran Kagura? Hell no! I want to make that very clear. The fact that you cannot currently buy Devotion at all because Xi Jinping is a willy-nilly silly old overly sensitive fuckwit is some damn bullshit. And if I could do anything, I would. Please tell me what I can do to help. But this is right on my front lawn and in my face. Yes, I will speak out, and, well, that's why I made this video. To discuss this, to bring this to light, and not be an overly sensationalist, clickbaity idiot about it. Cripes, if you knew what my YouTube recommendations look like, I swear the clickbait is getting worse. It's not even coherent anymore. The fuck are you talking about, my dude? But, next time, can we please print Xi Jinping Winnie the Pooh on a sexy bikini? Anyway, this is Gel, and you've been Game Babbled. See ya.
Careful with that leg bone, children. I'm a brittle man.
Bones, 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 bones. We're carrying a skeleton to an icy lake. We'll carry him so carefully, he's never gonna break. Carrying a skeleton to an icy lake, and his name is Mr. Bones. Bones, bones.